Hey True Believers, Englentine here with another top 10 list that you guys created. Over on I Love Comics, we vote for a top 10 list. I put it together based on your scores. 1, if you put it in the first place, it's worth 10 points. 2 is 9. You get how it is. So this was top 10 characters that never appeared on their first appearance cover. I thought that would be interesting to find out who were more important to everybody, because iconic, yeah, we've got that, but who also might make it that aren't so iconic but are beloved. It's a very interesting list. Can't wait to show it to you. So without further ado, let's get this party started. Number 10. Just for fun, let's make it a bit of a guessing game. Whose first appearance was in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, number 134? The Scourge of the DC Universe, Darkseid, created by Jack Kirby, of course. Jack Kirby started back at DC Comics with Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, number 133. This man wasted no time changing the face of DC Comics. Now, he started off being the main antagonist in the Fourth World, Jack Kirby's Fourth World, but after a while just became the ultimate villain of the DC Universe. Of course, appearing in comic books, a lot of us know him in the JLA cartoon voiced by Michael Ironside, in the Apocalypse movie with Superman and Batman, voiced by Andrew Bauer of Brooklyn Nine-Nine fame. Inspired by none other than Jack Palance, Richard Nixon, and I kid you not, Adolf Hitler. Number 9. Can you guess who made their first appearance in Action Comics number 1? Nope, not him. Her. Yep, that's right. Lois Lane did first appear in Action Comics number 1, and she was a tough cookie back then. I gotta tell you, I enjoy Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane. This is an amazing issue right here. However, she was more of a tough guy reporter style. His Girl Friday, if you've ever seen that movie, that was who Lois Lane was. And she, of course, got that back, and I'm glad. So when you see her on TV, when you see her in the cartoons, she is that fast-talking, hard-hitting reporter and everything. But after a while with the Superman's girlfriend, it was just, how am I going to get Superman to marry me? It's ridiculous, but you know what? It's ridiculous fun, and she is a great character. Number 8. Can you guess what Marvel villain made their first appearance in Spider-Man number 50? If you guessed the Kingpin, you guessed right. He started off really as just your average Marvel Comics crime lord, and then he became sort of a Marvel Comics supervillain using gadgets and stuff. It wasn't until Frank Miller grabbed him to use him as a Daredevil villain that he truly became the Kingpin that we know and love, the one that's just outside of the law, that everybody kind of knows he's doing things, but nobody can prove that he's doing these things. And he became smarter, more cunning, more vicious, more evil, and just a far more interesting villain than he had ever been before. Given a great backstory where he actually kills his own parents in order to free himself from them, where he can create his empire. Love the Kingpin. Number 7. Okay, kids, this should be an easy one because over on I Love Comics, we did a reading of this character's first appearance. Do you remember who made their first appearance in Pep Comics number 22? If your guess was Archie, congratulations for you. Kind of. His name was Chip in his first appearance. I kid you not. Well, his name was Archie, but they called him Chip throughout most of it. I thought that was kind of weird. But come on, this boy has become iconic. Of all the funny books that started in the Golden Age, the Platinum Age, Archie has been one of the most enduring. I think he is the most enduring. And it's one of those characters that even if you don't read comics, you know who Archie is. And everybody, let's face it, everybody has owned an Archie comic book. Everybody's read an Archie comic book. And everybody's loved an Archie comic book, including me. And yes, that advertisement was real. Let's put a weenie in your mouth. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Number 6. So who do you think people voted for as this being their number 6 first appearance not on a cover? Namor, the Submariner. So he's created by Bill Everett, and it was supposed to be in a prototype comic book giveaway called Motion Pictures Funnies Weekly, and that kind of fell through. Now, Bill Everett had heard that there was going to be a character called the Human Torch created by Carl Burgos, and he said, you know what, okay, let's play around. You got fire, I'll have water. And he remembered a poem called The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, figured, you know what, I like Roman, let's turn that backwards, and boom, Namor had come into existence. And since they weren't going to be doing the giveaway, they put him into Marvel Comics #1. And originally, he was not friendly. He was an enemy of the United States at the time. This is something that I think they've continued through the years, as always. Namor is on Namor's side only. And he and the Human Torch were involved in the very first crossover, where the two of them battled over the streets of New York. Number 5. Okay, kids, this might be a tough one. Very famous character, not a famous comic book. Hawkman #4. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Zatanna, who had a multi-issue run in the Silver Age where she met up with Hawkman and the Justice League, so forth. We're going to see some pictures here where she's trying to find her father, Zatara. I love this idea, and it just introduces her to a slew of comic book characters and a slew of readers who otherwise may not have heard of her. A stage magician who uses the stage magic to hide the fact that she's an actual wizard who uses backwards speak in order to work her spells. A member of the Justice League, a member of Justice League Dark, an all-around fan favorite character. Number 4. Okay, gang, we're going back to the Golden Age, More Fun Comics number 73. You've got a 50-50 shot on who the voters voted for in 4th place. I'll give you a hint. It was Aquaman, created by Paul Norris and Mort Weisinger in, 1941 in this comic. Dang. Did you know he didn't even get his first comic book cover appearance until the 50s in Showcase number 30? It's ridiculous. He is literally the Rodney Dangerfield of comic book characters. And the thing is, not a lot of people realize that it wasn't just Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman that was published continuously through. Aquaman never stopped being published as well. But because of that gosh darn animated series in the 60s and Super Friends, he kind of became a joke. Thankfully, he was able to step out of the shadows of that joke and people realized what a badass he actually is. We would be remiss not to mention More Fun Comics 73's other first appearance. It ended up being one of the runner-ups to this list, so I figure I'd include him here. It's the Green Arrow, and he did start off as a Batman clone, but in the 1970s he kind of pulled away, became the ultra-liberal, argue with everybody, but it was really the Longbow Hunters that I think cemented him as a cool character, and this is a change that has lasted, and I can't recommend this story enough. Number 3, Batman #1. Who was it? There are 2 famous first appearances here. Which one do you think that the audience had voted for to be number 3 on this list? That would be the Clown Prince of Crime himself, the Joker. Created by Bob Kane and Jerry Robinson in 1940. He started off as a murderous psycho, and because of the Comics Code Authority, he ended up being a bit of a prankster thief, only to be revived back in the 1970s as a psychotic killer again, and I think we're all happier for it, tell you the truth. There is a bit of a controversy as to who created him. Bob Kane says it was him. Jerry Robinson says, wait a second, I had the idea first. Bill Finger says this, I got a call from Bob Kane. He had a new villain. When I arrived, he was holding a playing card. Apparently, Jerry Robinson or Bob, don't recall who, looked at the card and they had an idea for the character, the Joker. Bob made a rough sketch of it. At first, it didn't look much like a Joker. It looked more like a clown. But he did say that Bob took the picture of Vite and turned him more clownish and cartoonish, and that's how we got the Joker. Once again, we do have to mention who else first appeared in Batman #1. And of course, that would be the Catwoman, created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger in 1940. And we have to mention her for at least a little bit, right? She almost married the Batman many times. And in fact, in one DC universe, she did. And they had the Huntress as a daughter. Anyway, moving on. Number 2. Okay, kids, this one's going to be easy. It's Fantastic Four number 48. Who did everyone vote to be the number 2 character? 2 characters are here. Both of them huge. One of them incredibly huge. But you win the Cupid doll if you guess Silver Surfer, the number 2 character everybody voted for. Lee and Kirby would work something called the Marvel method, where basically the plot would be given, Jack Kirby would draw it, and then Stan Lee would fill in all the dialogue, stuff like that. And so Jack turns in the art, but there's this character right there in the middle. He said, as a matter of fact, Lee says, there in the middle of the story we had so carefully worked out was a nut on some sort of flying surfboard. I thought, Jack, this time you've gone too far. And then Kirby explained that a character like Galactus should have some sort of herald, and that he created the surfboard, and I quote, because I'm tired of drawing spaceships. But Stan Lee looked at the story and what was drawn, figured, okay, yeah, I think this will work, and the Silver Surfer was born as a herald to the other character that first appeared, and a character I just mentioned. That would be the World Eater Galactus. In an interview, Jack Kirby described creating Galactus as this: my inspiration were the fact that I had to make sales and come up with characters that were no longer stereotypes. In other words, I couldn't depend on gangsters. I had to get something new. For some reason, I went to the Bible and I came up with Galactus. And there I was in front of this tremendous figure who I knew very well. I certainly couldn't treat him in the same way I could any ordinary mortal, and I remember in my first story I had to back away from him to resolve that story. The Silver Surfer is, of course, the fallen angel. When Galactus relegated him to Earth, he stayed on Earth, and that was the beginning of his adventures. They were figures that had never been used in comics before. They were above mythic figures, and of course, they were the first gods. And before we get to the character you guys voted for number 1 character who did not appear on their first comic book cover, let's do some runner-ups. And now, the comic book character you guys voted for the best that never appeared on their first appearance cover is... the comic book was All-Star Comics number 8. Can you guess who? Wonder Woman, created by Professor William Marston, who had this to say: not even girls want to be girls so long as our feminine archetype lack force, strength, and power. Not wanting to be girls, they don't want to be tender, submissive, peace-loving as good women are. Women's strong qualities have become despised because of their weakness. The obvious remedy is to create a feminine character with all the strength of Superman, plus all of the allure of a good and beautiful woman. One of the few superheroes to consistently be published throughout the 1950s. It wasn't until the Silver Age where DC Comics changed her origin to steer more into the Hellenic mythological roots. Receiving the blessing of each deity in her crib, Diana is destined to become as beautiful as Aphrodite, as wise as Athena, strong as Hercules, and as swift as Hermes. So there you go, kids. What do you think? Who did we leave off? Who are the awesome characters? Hint, one of them's on the thumbnail right now. But let me know in the comments below who you think should have made this list. Now, this was created by the viewers. What happens? You go on over, you bring your own top 10 list of whatever topic we are talking about, and make sure it's a real top 10 list, because sometimes I think these turn into oh, don't forget about this guy lists, and we get some weird suggestions. But bring your top 10 for the next topics. I think you're going to have fun. It starts at Tuesdays at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And once again, let me know in the comments below who you think we should have put on this list, or if you're thinking, really, do you think that's a great character? Anyway, let me know what you think. Don't forget to click like, share, subscribe, and if you don't mind helping out the channel, there's a link to Ko-Fi in the description below. I'd like to thank everybody who's already done that, and to everyone, all of the true believers, thank you very, very much for watching.